Kind of interesting, huh? So, I'm back here in home, which is San Diego, specifically Imperial Beach. And I've come down here before, and I'm back again. And I hope I'm not disrupting these people's soccer game, so pardon me. So, I've walked this beach before, which is sort of what prompted me to do it again. Simply because being down here, I recall the last time I did it, I was, one of the topics that I was discussing, which is a favorite of mine, is gratitude. And so here's why I wanted to share about that today. There's a couple reasons. One is that this very energetic weather we're having right now is just, first, it's gorgeous right now, in the sense that yesterday at this time, it was pouring rain and incredibly windy. To the point where a buddy of mine said today, he's like, yeah, I was driving through that tornado yesterday. And I don't have any reason to dispute him. But anyway, I know I don't have like epic lens on this camera, so you probably can't see the sea. But anyway, it's pretty awesome. And as I shared before, I like energetic rain. I like this. This is pretty awesome. So I'm kind of walking sideways down here. But in any case, here's what I wanted. So I'm on the beach, and I'm walking a path very similar to the last one I walked when I was discussing gratitude. So why did that come up into my mind today? So I had a scenario happen in my life where a buddy of mine reached out to me. We haven't connected in a while, and so we reconnected. And he was here's where I get pulled into the Pacific. And he was sharing with me how basically his life changed. And without going into too much detail, it was basically for the worse, sadly. But it was based on a topic that I've discussed before, which is alcoholism, the disease of alcoholism. And I'm not going to debate the fact that you may or may not think it's a disease. You just think it's someone's inability to pull themselves up from their bootstraps. They have no willpower. They can't stop drinking. Anyway, so let's go with the baseline of I believe it's a disease, and so we'll go with there. And he had been sober for a number of years. And if you don't know, one of the sort of ceremonies that we do in the program of solution that I attend is that annually we sort of celebrate that, in the sense that, you know, you have a birthday every year and you turn 1 year older. When you are 1 more year sober, that's a big deal. And so we celebrate that. And so one day before his anniversary of not drinking and using, he made the conscious decision to go drink. And if you know anything about my story, you know that I drank excessively. Gratefully, I've been sober a number of years, actually 24 and approximately 24 and a half. This May, I will be 25 years sober. And so anyway, I also used to do a significant amount of cocaine. And so he started drinking, and within a short period of time, he went back to cocaine. And you know, the sad reality is that that's a hell of a lot more common than someone getting sober and staying sober for 25 years. So once again, I'm not part of the status quo. But for my life, and so you could say, oh yeah, well, it's only like 27% effective, or the majority of people that get into AA don't stay, or they get into whatever, you know, doesn't work. Let me just share this with you. 100% of all of my long-term friends that I've had that wanted to get sober have stayed sober for over 20 years. So there you go. Anyway, so the sad reality is that he started drinking again, and his life Hasn't gotten horrible, but it certainly is uncomfortable. Such that he reached out and he said, hey, you know, just wanted to talk about it and share about it and say, you know, I gotta get back on track. What should I do? That sort of thing. And so here's what brings me to this level of gratitude. I have been blessed with being able to think about alcohol or cocaine and not go buy any. And you might think, well, that's just sort of cute, Mike. Like, why did you say that? I didn't used to have that capacity. And through a series of events and some work I've done on my part, for sure, I don't have the obsession. And so I wanted to touch on that because a very good friend of mine, she recently meaning like Monday of this week, recently celebrated 14 years of being clean and sober. And, oh, you know what's funny is, so shiny red ball. So what's funny is I'm going underneath this pier. Now this pier is one that is very commonly hung out on. But I was, you know, it's funny, I was looking at it from down there and I thought, you know, you really got to hand it to the people that make piers, the guys that make bridges. Because man, with all that water that's like rushing past it and all of a sudden all these waves and everything and all that, God, it's amazing, it's still standing. And then I looked up there and there's a fence. So they're not allowing people on it. Now, I don't know whether that means they think, oh my God, it might be unsafe or whatever. It might be the fact that there were waves that were, I don't know, what would that be, another 15 feet? Another 15 feet of waves, and therefore it was dangerous, I don't know. Regardless, shiny red ball. So I wanted to share that because it's one of those little triumphs, and along the lines of gratitude, almost something that I take, I was gonna say almost something I take for granted. I don't know if I take it for granted. I've shared pretty frequently how freaking grateful I am, the fact that I'm not committing suicide on the installment plan any longer. However, it's really pretty awesome, you know? And so I always wonder then, as I do these videos, you know, what your experience has been in life. I mean, has there been something in your life where it's just been so freaking lousy that that you're like, oh my God, thank God I don't do that anymore, or thank God I'm not in that scenario anymore, thank God I'm not in that relationship anymore, thank God I don't have that debt anymore, be it financial or other. And so as I reflected back on the last time I was walking on this beach talking about gratitude, I was like, man, I really need to acknowledge the fact of how grateful I am. The fact that I don't have this mental obsession about drinking or using drugs. And it's really amazing because this woman I was talking with today, my buddy, she's like, you know, it's so funny. It's like one day I was just drinking to excess, and then the next day the obsession was gone. Now, she says that with the rear view mirror of 14 years ago, which I totally get. Although, for me, I can absolutely remember the last day I drank and used cocaine, and how the following day I didn't. The following day, the obsession wasn't removed right away, but the physical substances were removed from my body, from me putting them in my body. Who knows how long it took to dissipate and get back to normal? I don't know, 3 months, 6 months. I mean, what? I've heard some people say that like after X amount of years, 7 years, 3 years, whatever, all of the cells in your body regenerate, or all of your blood is new or refresh. I don't know. Regardless, I don't believe I have any of those substances in my body any longer. But more importantly, I don't have that obsession in my mind any longer to do that, or continue to do that, or to use that as a solution. And so I wanted to share that scenario with you because I think that part of why I do these videos is to bring to light, or maybe remind you, the viewer, other people, me, my mom, who knows, that, and certainly my experience in this country, is that it is very easy to take things for granted here in the US. Now, there are certainly parts of the US I have not been to, and I have no doubt in those parts it's not as easy to take things for granted. But I don't know. All I can tell you, and all I can share with you, is my own experience. My own experience is that it's very easy to take things for granted here in the United States, because we have a lot here. There are some people that have less, for sure, but after doing the international travel that, you know, many of these other videos were from the Philippines and Vietnam and that sort of thing, arguably countries where they have less overall, I can tell you that I don't know how many people I met that I was able to say, oh, that person is taking whatever for granted. And that's an interesting thing, because there were some people that were certainly grateful, and there were some people too that I could tell, oh yeah, that they've reached some level of social status and now they have an attitude. That was my experience with several people actually in Thailand, which I then sort of related to, oh yes, I've heard the middle class is growing here, potentially that's an attitude they've developed. I don't know, massive judgment over that person's behavior. Nonetheless, it was something that I experienced for sure, so who knows? Maybe as you get wealthy, either as an individual or as a nation, and I don't mean necessarily financially, but for the most part, that's what people associate the word wealth with, is financial success. But maybe as you achieve that, it's a lot easier to take things for granted. So, just wanted to kind of start sharing again some videos here. From me being back in Southern California, not necessarily me checking in from my office in Southern California, although this is one of my offi, my offices, the plural of offices, offi. And I'm sure if I do that, it's like full-on silhouette. Although, one could argue, yes, Mike, the silhouette is much better than balding head. Hey-o! So anyway, just a little bit about gratitude and taking things for granted. I really hope you're living the dream. I hope wherever you're watching this, you're safe and happy. Because in my experience, if you're not living the dream, you're doing it wrong. Ciao.